God cannot exist because there's so much evil in the world. Now, it seems to me that the reason that my response to that statement is to say simply that I don't accept it, and I don't find it compelling in any way, because it makes certain assumptions that, in my opinion, those suppressed are fundamental to the statement. Without them, it wouldn't have the force that it has, and I find these assumptions questionable. The problem of evil is a trilemma. That is, it's not a dilemma, it's a trilemma. It's set up by three assertions which, affirmed together conjointly, create the problem. The first assertion is that God is all good, or omnibenevolent. The second assertion is that God is all powerful, or omnipotent, as it's usually said in theological books. And then thirdly, that evil in some form or to some extent is real. It's not an illusion, but there is real evil. Now, you can assert any two of those three propositions without difficulty. But, so the argument goes, as soon as you put the third one in, any one of them, then it becomes a contradiction. Now, my own frank judgment is that the student's statement only makes sense if you point to the suppressed assumption of the other premise, namely that God is all good. If God were not all good, then the fact that evil exists would not be any reason to say that God cannot exist. But the further and much more telling assumption that the student statement makes is that God's omnipotence, or God's being all-powerful, is to be understood in a certain way. A way in which, in my opinion, is not only self-incoherent, but something that you simply have every reason to reject. Now, let me try to show you what I mean by that. To say that God is all-powerful has been in the tradition again and again taken to mean that God has all the power there is. Right? Now, that's the assumption that the student is making in saying what she or he says. Without that assumption, the point that she or he is trying to make would not follow. But it's arguable that that understanding of omnipotence doesn't make coherent sense, because power, by the very meaning of the word, is a social concept. That is to say, there can't be power unless there is a division of power, unless there's power over other powers, which, if they didn't have any power, one wouldn't be such as to be able to, that you could say reasonably of him, you have power over them. Power always is, in the very idea, a social concept. That means then that omnipotence, in the literal sense of unsurpassable power, power than which none greater power can be conceived, omnipotent power could only mean all the power there is, consistently with there also being others who have some power, however minimal. Otherwise, omnipotence is an empty concept. But as soon as you grant that, then evil existence doesn't as such make any question about whether God exists. Provided that you can show that such evils as exist are in fact due not to God's power, but to the other powers that also have to be reckoned with, then the fact that evil exists is in no way a reason for doubting God's existence. So my own view is that the student's statement is not compelling, and that it rests upon certain assumptions that one has no good reason to accept and eminently good reasons to reject.